Around the turn of the 19th to 20th centuries, the village of Portland and Big Rideau Lake become known for outdoor recreation. Portland develops into a hub of activity, welcoming thousands of visitors every summer. It also has its own community that flourishes alongside the seasonal residents and visitors. In 1816, a tiny community called The Landing emerges at the launch point on Rideau Lake for people traveling between Brockville on the St. Lawrence and the new military settlement of Perth to the north. But with the 1832 completion of the Rideau Canal, passing through the Rideau Lakes between Ottawa and Kingston, The Landing grows as a significant transit point for local goods and people. For about 15 years after it opens, the Rideau Canal is also the main transportation route between Kingston and Montreal for shipping companies avoiding the American border. But by 1846, shipping between Kingston and Montreal has switched to the faster St. Lawrence River route. Still, steamships continue to travel through the canal, carrying local goods and passengers. To support local farming and enterprise, a service sector grows up in the village. A post office is established, as well as the official name Portland, after William Cavendish Bentinck, 3rd Duke of Portland. Larger homes and churches are built, along with taverns, mills, factories, and shops. But in the latter half of the 19th century, a change is afoot. Across North America, industrialization sees people moving to cities and larger towns to take jobs in factories and offices. There is an emerging middle class. However, along with this urbanization, many people, particularly men, find a loss of independence in urban employment compared to running their own farm or business. Women, who are more likely to have a significant role on a farm or rural business, sometimes find that urbanization leaves them, too, without an essential role. And 19th century cities have some objectionable attributes. Noise, smoke, garbage, bad odors, cramped living conditions, and rigid schedules are among the stressors. Companies demand long work hours and push workers for greater efficiency on factory assembly lines. These stresses lead city folk to fantasies of an idealized rural life. In America, there are calls to go back to the land as early as 1840. Romanticists seek out nature and see deep meaning in unspoiled environments. At the same time, anti-modernists look for the quaint, picturesque, and artisanal in the face of science, order, mechanization, efficiency, and industry. The whole notion of the wilderness experience becomes integral to the Canadian identity, a sense of strength, healthiness, and purity. While previously society prized land ownership, home, and work, a new social contract emerges that identifies with home, work, and leisure. Industry and the press respond with a flurry of leisure-related publications, flyers, and brochures. Interestingly, it's the press that is an early Canadian target of union activity, with workers seeking a shorter work week. In the mid-1800s, it's normal for employees to work 10 to 12-hour days, 6 or even 7 days a week. But in 1872, Hamilton print workers walk off the job, demanding a maximum 9-hour workday. 10,000 supporters join them, and soon after, the government legalizes trade unions. The new middle class has the time and money for a modern vacation. Reduced labor hours, increased wages, a growing rail network, and other commercial travel opportunities make this lifestyle possible. Steamers like the Rideau King and Rideau Queen offer leisure travel. They have staterooms, dining rooms, smoking rooms, dance halls, saloons, and toilets with hot and cold running water. Portland becomes the heart of what is initially a wealthy tourist region on the Big Rideau. Local hotels flourish, such as the Commercial Hotel and Hart Hotel. New resorts, such as Garrett's Rest, and private clubs, such as Angler's Inn, spring up. Wealthy families build country homes. Services in town evolve to include grocery deliveries and boat taxi services to island houses. As well, there is demand for the services of fishing guides and rental rowing skiffs. But as the number of middle-class visitors grows, some of the more exclusive resorts and clubs disappear and are replaced by camps, small private cottages, and rental cabins. While public picnics and excursions give visitors an opportunity to enjoy the outdoors, they also require a certain level of socially acceptable behavior. By contrast, private cabins and camps give middle-class vacationers the opportunity to relax in the privacy of their own space. The earliest lake properties are bought by nearby families from Portland, Smiths Falls, or Perth, who can row out or can get dropped off by a steamer. Clusters of cottages grow up around Rideau Ferry, Beveridge's Locks, and Portland. Mothers and children spend the summer school holidays at these cottages, and fathers come out on the weekends, often rowing out from town. As daylight fades, families hang lanterns by the water to guide the dads to their docks. Of course, for the mothers living and working for the entire summer in rustic conditions, cottage life may not feel like a vacation. But having a cottage and being out in nature appeals to some, and likely has some prestige. Cottagers fish, sail, swim, and go on private or paid excursions. They have campfires and play traditional outdoor games like quoits and sometimes golf or lawn tennis. They also do puzzles and play indoor games like flinch, fan-tan, pits, and crokinole. Cottages typically have a veranda. As space is required and funding available, verandas are covered, screened, and eventually walled in to create additional indoor space. Subsequent verandas are added, and the cycle of expansion continues. Cottagers also go into Portland to shop, go to church, and visit with local residents. The kids go to Sunday school, which greatly expands in numbers when summer visitors are in residence. There are midnight box socials, dances, and parades. Portland has a band in the 1890s, and there is still a band in 1909. People gather to celebrate Orangeman's Day on the glorious 12th. Some visitors to Portland rent summer homes right in the village, including the Eliza Hartwell House, which is let out to a variety of politicians, military officers, business executives, and show business stars. While road access to some parts of the lake enables cottage development on the mainland, boat-in access is often more desirable given the state of the roads, especially when steam and gas-powered boats enable easy water access. While steam yachts are only occasionally seen on the Rideau Lakes in the 1870s, by the 1880s there are several steam yachts owned locally. As the internal combustion engine begins to be commercially available in cars and motorboats in the early 20th century, it is more common for a lake resident to own a motorboat than an automobile. By 1916, most of the estimated 250 cottages on the lake have their own boats. Steamer travel largely comes to an end with the arrival of the railway in Portland in 1913. As the market for owner-operated boats grows, local boat-building businesses emerge, such as Dowsett's and Wykes. Shops on the waterfront install gasoline pumps and docking facilities. The motorboat is an immediate hit on Big Rideau Lake as a form of both transportation and recreation. Significantly, the motorboat enables the seamless transition of the Rideau Canal from a commercial to a recreational route. It inevitably plays a major role in the survival of this historic canal to the present day. The first Portland Regatta is held in 1909. In 1917, the Rideau Lake and Aquatic Association builds a boat and clubhouse that has a dance hall, sleeping accommodations, and boat slips for 25 boats. People sit on the roof shading the government dock to watch the regatta, and local kids collect donation money for prizes. A report of the Ontario Game and Fisheries Commission asserts that the drowned lands in the Rideau Lakes have perhaps the best fishing in the province. The year 1920 breaks records for the number of tourists who come to the Portland area, filling all the hotels and taking up all the available fishing guides' time. Even when most fishing guides have motorized boats, there are some guides who still row. A guide from Portland, Leo Lake, regularly rows from Portland through Narrows Lock, across the upper Rideau Lake, picks up his clients, takes them out for a day fishing, drops them back at Newborough, then rows back to Portland. In the 1930s, guiding is much more lucrative at $7 to $10 per day than working as a farm laborer, which pays about $1 per day, plus meals, and the hours are not as long. But it is not just visitors who fish. Local residents fish for themselves and their families, as well as simply for the fun of it. Fishing guide George Carr tells the story of trout fishing by himself one day when he catches such a large lake trout that he can't bring it in alone. He ties the steel line around a tree on a nearby island and goes to get help. When they come back, the island is gone. After the visitors leave in the fall, local people continue fishing. In the late fall, they hunt deer and ducks, cut firewood, and in the spring, go trapping and make maple syrup. Other people supplement the family income by selling minnows as bait, which they can sell all year round, since there is also ice fishing. But for all the love of fishing, there are passionate letters to the editor in local newspapers, castigating people for fishing on the Sabbath. As early as 1901, the government begins to control fishing, and especially fishing with gill nets. Accordingly, residents who want to fish with nets do so surreptitiously. Some have their nets seized, especially during spawning season. Many residents feel they should be allowed to fish freely for their own consumption. With all this fishing, the government realizes the benefits of stocking lakes. In 1915, it puts 100,000 trout fry into Big Rideau Lake, and in 1917, it releases 100,000 bass fingerlings. Local business people and sport fishing groups also see enough value in fish conservation that they help to fund the purchase of boats for the local game wardens. A 1922 diary entry describes life in Portland, connecting the two economic forces of commerce and recreation. It says, "Why, we have everything here. A cheese factory, grocers, coopers, blacksmiths, boat builders, a doctor, a dentist, a post office, 3 dance halls, 2 stages, lawn bowling, tennis courts, even street lamps, 3 churches, 2 hotels, and the best fishing in the world." Even as Portland retains its importance as a local commercial center, it ushers in a leisure economy with new ideas about how to spend time and money and new transportation technologies. And whether local resident, seasonal resident, or transient visitor, people flock to Portland and Big Rideau Lake to experience its natural wonders and to revel in 4 seasons of outdoor diversions.